The site of a new ghost town in New Mexico has been chosen, and it'll bring hundreds of new jobs to the state. The research firm Pegasus Global Holdings announced today that Hobbs is the best place for the state-of-the-art project. It will create a billion-dollar site about the size of a town of 35,000 people, complete with homes, streets, and businesses. No one will live there. It'll be used for scientists to test renewable energy innovations, traffic systems, next-generation wireless networks, and smart grid security systems. The company says it picked Hobbs because of its open space and infrastructure.
Hobbs and Lee County have demonstrated that this area of the state has truly become the center of new technology and industry in New Mexico.
The test town will provide 1,500 construction jobs and 350 full-time jobs. Groundbreaking is set for June. No public money will be used for the project. It is privately owned and funded by Pegasus Global and Site Development.
I don't know how much of this you've been following with regard to this city that they're building in New Mexico. I don't know. Have you heard anything about that, this ghost city that they're constructing?
Darren, I haven't looked into it in great detail. A couple of people have mentioned it to me in the last actually 3 or 4 days. So I'm not really up to speed on it, but it sure does interest me.
Well, I've got some articles here. I'll share as the time progresses here, because this is really interesting. And what it looks like, as Nancy pointed out, this is a $1 billion city that a company called Pegasus Global is building, right in the middle of evidently a rural area, and supposedly they're going to be doing a lot of testing for smart this and smart that, different technologies. But it just so happens, as I went to their website this morning, Pat, they happen to have, because my first thought was, they're spending $1 billion. This has to be a huge outfit. In order for you to spend $1 billion, how much do you have to have at your disposal? And going to their website, which is pegasus-global.com, they have a list of different power companies that are funding them. That they call them clients. And let me just share a few of these with you. There's Alstom Power in the USA. Babcock Power, and I'm not going to hit every one of them. And it's not just the United States, by the way. There's other countries as well. Boston Edison Company, British Petroleum is one of their clients. Cal Energy, California Attorney General, Combustion Engineering, Connecticut Public Service Commission. There is Duke Energy, Ernst & Young, First Energy, Foster Wheeler, I don't know what that is. Georgia Power Company, there's another one. Illinois Commerce Commission. The Kansas City Light and Power. Kellogg Brown and Root. Long Island Power Company. Maine Public Service Commission. I mean, Marathon Oil, there's another one. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Well,
and those are just ones in the USA that I mentioned. Go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, this is not a new thing in China. China has a bunch of these ghost cities, they call them, where they are testing new smart grid technology. So, I suspect that, we are sharing information back and forth. And what I have read, this is in Hobbs, New Mexico, by the way. And what I have read is that they're going to be testing things like toilets that flush automatically, washing machines that fill up and stop automatically, water that is really, really limited, and, new faucet systems and so on and so forth, as well as a new transportation system.
Which includes cars that drive themselves, I understand.
Cars that drive themselves, and they're not owned cars. They're, city-owned cars, apparently. And so, it once again, it removes any human interaction with anything that has to do with water or gas or electricity.
Yeah, Pat, this is really, it comes right in line with the whole technocratic system. Spending $1 billion to experiment with these smart systems in the middle of, rural New Mexico, I guess. This really shows very clearly that these people are very serious about getting this smart grid in place, does it not?
Well, they are, and this goes beyond just a smart grid, Darren. This, I'm looking at this now, and she was right in that this ties into the ghost cities that we see in China. Mm-hmm. These are much broader experiments than just smart grid. This was we would put this under the heading of what Technocracy called a technate. That is Technate, and that was basically the city unit that was defined, at least hypothetically, back in the 1930s. And they actually had some engineering drawings of what a technate should look like. It would be a self-contained unit that would house people, food production, energy production. Everything would be pretty much self-sufficient within that little city unit. And we also see, by the way, this kind of thinking and certainly some architectural drawings in modern organizations such as the Venus Project, which is pretty much a knockoff of Technocracy. But these concepts have been around for a very long time, Darren. But the interesting thing is, all of a sudden, it's really gaining traction, and people are actually spending money on it. This is, 30 years ago, or maybe 40 years ago, when this was just kind of parlor room discussion or engineer, break room discussion, whatever. You'd kind of write it off and say, well, let them talk. It's a free world, whatever. But when they start spending billions of dollars to bring about their crazy policy, you have to get concerned. Because it's
well, especially when they're already slapping the meters on the side of people's houses.
That's right.
Well, and you're talking about total control of everything that we need to live.
That's exactly right, and that is the end game of Technocracy, is to control, micromanage, if you will, every living organism on the face of the planet. And it's not the smart meter, of course, is one important element, but they're also looking at water in the same way. They're looking at natural gas in the same way. It's a wonder that they're not looking at air.
They are. Actually, that's what the carbon trading thing is all about, which, is also a part of this as well. As you've pointed out in the past, Pat, this carbon trading scheme that they're developing, and we have the Rio Plus 20 conference coming up, and, they repeatedly talk about these things about global warming being a problem and all this, and we've debunked that so many times, I get sick of talking about it. But, it doesn't matter, all the scandals that have come out about how the scientists have rigged the science, and they've been proven to be fraudulent over and over and over again. It doesn't matter what the science really says. It doesn't matter what the scientists really said. It's like, to heck with the truth, full speed ahead with the lies and the deception and the agenda above and beyond.
Yeah, I think we're talking about our new currency system.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. You've pointed out that this whole thing is really a currency that's going to be developed, and we're already hearing things. I saw an article this morning about smartphones and how smartphones could replace small cash transactions within 5 years.
Yeah, it's going that way, that's right.
Yeah, the currency system, can you speak to that a little bit?
Well, the currency, the idea of a carbon currency, again, dates back to the early 1930s, where it was first suggested that would be the monetary unit to account for transactions within what I will now call a green economy. That is a science-based economy. Again, science is not, we're not talking about real science here, we're talking about
grant-funded science.
Yeah, grant-funded jack science, maybe we'll call it. But the idea of a carbon-based currency a green-based economy, and the two go hand in hand. The economic system will demand that there be a carbon-based or a green-based currency that will be different than currency as we understand it today. And this was the radical thing about technocracy in the first place, is that they wanted to completely